Hello, this is Sanford from around the Northeast Corner, and the soccer pairings are out as the IHSCA officially revealed that these 2024 sectional pairings for boys and girls soccer. So, throughout the course of this video, I will dive into each of these area sectionals that we will cover around the Northeast Corner and give you a better insight of what to expect for each of the sectionals. I'm not looking at records too much. I'm not looking too much into statistics. This is just firsthand thoughts, just based on the pairings itself. I don't have any preparation on some of these teams I don't know much about, but I hope that I give you a better perspective on the teams I do know, and hopefully a sneak peek of what's to come for the state tournament. I will actually have previews. I'll actually give more information about these teams and actually go into more of the statistics and the players itself in general. That will be more. That's where the post will come into play. This is just more of a first-hand, raw experience, my first thoughts on these pairings. So we begin with Class 1A, and we'll start off with the girls sectional at Westview, 1A sectional 35. So the first round will feature Westview against Central Noble for match number 1. Westview dominates Central Noble in the regular season, so you have to expect Westview will be favored in this matchup against the Cougars. Westview's this veteran team. They are the senior-heavy team. As I mentioned earlier, with Morgan Rees-Sector, the leading goal scorer for Westview, Kelsey Ward, the all-time leader in assists at Westview. They got Breed Corey in net for Westview as well. They have a sophomore named Olivia Bontrader that's net some goals for the Westview Lady Warriors as well. Central Noble, not a bad team by any stretch of imagination. I believe they come into this week 6-5 at the time that I'm recording this. They have a couple of solid players of their own, led by Avery Dieter of Central Noble, as well as Nevaeh Schaup of the Cougars. Taylor Custer is at CN for the soccer team, and then you have Carnahan in net for Central Noble, but Westview will be the heavy favorites, I should say, at Westview. Match number 2 will feature Elkhart Christian taking on Trinity Greenlawn. I don't recall the records for these two teams. I think Elkhart Christian might be favored in that matchup, but nevertheless, none of these two teams are close to the level of Westview. The winner of that matchup will face the winner of Bremen Lakewood Park. This is the more interesting first round matchup. Bremen has won, I believe. So let me look real quick. I really want to make sure I don't mess this one up. Oh, let me check here real quick. Sorry about that. Just want to give initial thoughts on Bremen. Yeah, Bremen's 9-4-1 on the season. Lakewood Park, I believe, has won 12 matches this season. Bremen has been a solid team all season long. They have some pretty solid players in their own right. They're pretty much a defense-first team, but they're going to have the tall task of taking on Ava Staker, Luca Bontrader, and Lila West of Lakewood Park, one of the top teams in Class 1A. And on paper, you would imagine Westview, and this could be a crash course of Westview and Lakewood Park meeting for the sectional championship. By the way, the winner of the Westview Central Noble game will face Bethany Christian, who received the bye in the state tournament for that bracket. When you see the video, you will see the actual pairings visually. So I'm talking without really showing the pairings right now. So hopefully that when you see the pairings, you'll understand where this map is taking us for each of these sectionals. Real quick, I do want to make sure I address the one girls sectional in Class 1A, Sectional 37, hosted by Wabash. We do have one ANEC area school in this sectional, so we do want to make sure we address that. So the first round features 2 matchups. The first one will be Wabash versus Eastbrook, and a lot would argue this would be the matchup that would decide the sectional championship on paper. Wabash is a team with a 9-5 record on the season. They have a very talented young lady, which we know on the basketball court by the name of Brooklyn Buzzard. Brooklyn Buzzard is a ONU commit for basketball. And in case you're wondering, yeah, Brooklyn Buzzard, I've heard of her from Manchester. Yes, it's the same Brooklyn Buzzard. She transferred to Wabash. So she's the high-powered stud on the Wabash Apaches, a very talented Wabash team with a lot of the players playing from the basketball team. Their goalkeeper is, I believe, Caitlin Honeycutt, and she has a goals against average well below 2. So Wabash will definitely be a force to be reckoned with in this sectional. Eastbrook's another solid team in their own right. They're going to be a nice, scrappy, tough-nosed team to play against, and so that is a brutal first-round matchup for both Wabash and Eastbrook, and I would imagine the winner of this matchup will very likely win this sectional. Although Blackhawk Christian, not a team to overlook, they are part of that second matchup against South Adams. South Adams only has 2 wins on the season, but although they've been competitive this season, they have struggled to score goals this year for the South Adams Starfires, and they're going to have a tall task of being able to find some offense against the Blackhawk Christian Braves. Those two matchups will be the winners of those 2 matchups will face off in the first semifinals, and then the second semifinals features 2 losing teams, Blackford and North Miami. Blackford, I believe, only has won 3 matches. North Miami only has won 2. The interesting thing about this sectional is, other than maybe South Adams or Blackhawk Christian, none of these matchups feature a scenario where they played each other in the regular season, which makes this very interesting in terms of how these games could be decided. But if I have to take a random guess here, I would imagine I would go North Miami with the edge, I would guess. But again, that's kind of a whatever matchup there. I think the matchup between Eastbrook and Wabash is the one that will likely decide this sectional. And I would honestly give Wabash the edge. I think they have a nice veteran team back, and I think the addition of Brooklyn Buzzard just makes Wabash a better team. I don't know if they can get past Eastbrook, I don't know if there's another team in this sectional that can really give Wabash any trouble in the sectional. But again, that's just predictions. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. You never know. But I just want to make sure I quickly address that sectional before we move on. We then go to the same sectional, I believe, but this time on the boys' side. This is going to be hosted by Blackhawk Christian. Match 1 will feature the Blackhawk Christian Braves and the Lakewood Park Christian Panthers. Lakewood Park only has 4 wins on the season. Blackhawk has at least 8 or 9 wins off the top of my head. Again, when I get the actual posts, you'll see the actual records. But Blackhawk will be the favorite in this match, and more than likely the favorites possibly to even win the whole sectional, because Westview might be down this year. I mean, they haven't looked very Westview-like, and we'll talk about that later on. Match number 2 is Prairie Heights against Canterbury. Canterbury will be the favorite in this matchup, and trying to remember the record here real quick. Canterbury has usually been a powerhouse over the years in soccer, and that's usually their number 1 sport at Canterbury. Canterbury, unfortunately, though, is down this year. They're only 3-8-1, but Canterbury does have a battle-tested, beefy schedule. So how good is Canterbury really is really an unknown right now for the Cavaliers, but they will be favorites against Prairie Heights. The winner of those 2 matchups will face each other in the semifinals, where the second of the 2 semifinals will feature Westview and Central Noble. Westview, despite having a mediocre season by their standards, still will be the heavy favorites to advance to the championship game. Central Noble, I believe, only has 1 match win this season. I believe that came in, I think, against Eastside, but I'm not 100% sure. It was in the consolation. It was after the first round of the conference tournament, but either way, Central Noble only 1 win this year. Not going to get it done against Westview. So then we shift over to... So 1A Sectional 34 is hosted by Bethany Christian. They're defending state champions in Class 1A. Match 1 will feature Westfield against LaVille. Match number 2, Oregon Davis against Trinity Greenlawn. I can pretty much tell you Trinity Greenlawn's probably to be favored in that matchup. Match number 3 features Bethany Christian and Marquette Catholic. Right? The winner of match number 2, match number 3 will face off against each other. The winner of the Westfield-LaVille matchup will face Elkhart Christian in the first semifinal matchup. I would imagine, just based on just initial thoughts, Bethany will probably still be the favorites in the sectionals. It will just be a matter of, can they go far in the state tournament? Beyond sectionals, I think that remains to be seen. So now we can shift over to Class 2A. Let me get there real quick. So we begin with 2A Sectional 19, I believe. We'll start with the girls. DeKalb is the host of this sectional. Match number 1 features Angola and Concordia. Angola, probably the slight favorites in that matchup. Angola has a couple nice players led by Harley Gillen. As I mentioned earlier, she's been a on a hot streak of goal scoring as of late. They got a nice player also in Isabella Robertson. Addison Sallows is another solid player for the Angola Hornets. The Reiner, and I know they have at least one of the Reiner girls on the Angola team as well. Pretty solid team for this Hornets team, coached by Hugh Robertson. Match number 2 will feature Lakeland and East Snowball. Lakeland's going to have a solid goalkeeping and some good defense because East Snowball is good. They're an 8-win team for this East Snowball team is. They got a couple of nice players led by Addison Fry, Olivia Winkle, Avery Amstutz. While they've had an injury of Addison Ritchie earlier in the season, they've been able to find good goalkeeping from their freshman, Maitland Booth. East Snowball will be the heavy favorites in that matchup against Lakeland, and very likely could face Angola in the second round, which was a 1-goal win for East Snowball in the regular season. Angola has 6 wins on the season at the time of this recording. Match number 3 will feature the host DeKalb and Bishop Dwayner. Bishop Dwayner is a state-ranked team. They're one of the top teams in Class 2A. They are the SAC champions. So Bishop Dwayner will be the heavy favorites to win this sectional, especially now that Leo is no longer in Class 2A. Dwayner may be one of the favorites to even get to the state finals, which I believe is still hosted by now called IU Indianapolis. And then match number 4 will feature Garrett and West Snowball. I would imagine West Snowball will be the favorite in that matchup. The winner of the Angola Concordia match will face Lakeland East Snowball winner for the first semifinals, and the second semifinals will feature the winners of the Cal Bishop Dwayner and Garrett West Snowball. And then we go to 2A Sectional 20 for the girls section. Match number 1 will feature Canterbury and Heritage. Heritage has had a down season for girls soccer, although they are kind of a scrappy group, so they're kind of a team to watch. Canterbury 5-7, not a bad team by any stretch, but not a great Canterbury team. Not the usual Canterbury soccer teams that we have seen over the years. Canterbury, though, still the favorite in that matchup. Match number 2 will feature Bishop Lures and Woodland. Woodland probably the favorite in that matchup, but you never know in a matchup like this between an SAC school and a ACAC school like Woodland. And then match number 3, New Haven takes on Belmont. New Haven has not won a match this year. New Haven has not won a match this year. Belmont 10-2-1. By the time we get to the playoffs, Belmont very likely could be the NE8 champions outright for the second year in a row. Belmont probably the favorite to win the whole sectional. And then Norwell has the bye. They will wait the winner of Canterbury Heritage for the first semifinals, and then Lures Woodland winner will face the winner of New Haven Belmont in the second semifinals, which we think it might be Woodland and Belmont. But the likely outcome is we're probably going to see another Norwell-Belmont matchup for the sectional championship. This is not a great sectional by any means, and Norwell has a really good player by the name of Grace Mann, who's averaging about 3 or 4 goals a game, it seems. Belmont's a tight-knit defense-first group led by Emily Barton in goal and Gwen Laurent and as their leading goal scorer for the Belmont Braves, so this should be a fun matchup down in Ossian. And then there's one more sectional for Class 2A on the girls' side, and this is the sectional down in Mississinawa. There's only one matchup in the first round. That's Newcastle versus Delta. I don't know anything about these two teams, so I will reserve my judgment when we actually get to the articles. Semifinals will feature Mississinawa and Yorktown. I believe Yorktown is one of the favorites in this bracket. And then Jay County, the ACAC champions, they will wait the winner of Newcastle Delta. If my understanding of this area suits me well here, I would imagine this is going to be Jay County Yorktown, very likely competing for the sectional title, to which Yorktown did beat Jay County in the regular season. I would imagine if things fall into place, Yorktown will be the favorite in that matchup. We shift over to the boys' side in Class 2A. We start off with 2A Sectional 19, hosted by Lakeland. The first matchup will feature the Lakeland Lakers and the Garrett Railroaders. Garrett probably the favorite in that matchup. Lakeland, I think, only has won a couple matches this year. Garrett has 3 wins, but they've played a much tougher schedule. Garrett should win that matchup unless Lakeland does their hometown magic up in LaGrange. Match number 2 will feature West Snowball and Leo. This is a very difficult draw for both teams. These are 2 of the better teams in the area. West Snowball, probably the NECC champions by this point. Leo may very well win the NEA outright. So this is a difficult matchup because one would argue these are 2 of the better teams in the sectional. Maybe a sectional championship type of matchup. But this is going to be a first round matchup, and so a good team is going to end its season early, and it'll be interesting to see which team to come out on top. I don't know exactly who wins this matchup, to be quite honest with you. Oh man, that's a tough one. I would say Leo may have the edge in this one, but I don't know. West Snowball's a very good team as well. They're both very, both teams match up very well, I should say. And then match number 3, Angola takes on Eastside. That's another error on my part. I forgot Eastside is now back in boys soccer, so I'll have to make sure I update the sectional graphics when we do the articles. Angola will win this matchup. Eastside just got their boys soccer program back for the varsity level. Angola will win this matchup. So then, in terms of semifinals, Dwayner has the bye. They will wait the winner of Lakeland Garrett. I would imagine Dwayner will be the favorite to get to the championship game. And then the winners of West Noble, Leo, Angola, Eastside will face off against each other. Angola very likely will play in the semifinals. It's just a matter of whether they play West Noble or Leo. If it's West Noble, however, Angola has already played West Noble twice. And they were close games in the regular season, both in conference play and the conference tournament championship match. Angola West Noble would be a very interesting matchup, but Leo, certainly a difficult matchup for the Angola Hornets if it does present itself to be the case. We shift over to Sectional 20, hosted by Concordia Lutheran. Matchup number 1 features Belmont and Bishop Luers. Luers is a heavy favorite to win this matchup and very likely winning the whole sectional. Bishop Luers, I think, has won 13 matches this year. Belmont only 2. Luers should win this matchup. Matchup number 2, Manchester takes on Heritage. I believe Manchester is probably the favorite in that matchup. Heritage has a decent team, but I don't know if they're quite at the level of Manchester. Again, I'll do some research before actually posting the actual previews. But Manchester looks like they're going to have a decent chance of at least playing for a semifinal matchup. And then Norwell takes on Woodland. Woodland's a sneaky team in this sectional pairing, considering that Norwell's been an up and down team. You don't know what Norwell team you're going to see in the postseason, but Norwell does have some talent. Kyler Morris has been their goal scorer all year long. I think he has around 20 goals on the season. And they got Philip Geyer in net, who's been a solid goalkeeper for the Knights. But Woodland, not a team to overlook as well, led by Dylan Fielder, I should say, of Woodland. Concordia has the bye in this sectional, and they will wait the winner of Belmont Bishop Luers. Concordia will certainly be an upgrade in terms of a challenge for Bishop Luers in the state tournament, especially since Concordia is the host of the sectional. But Bishop Luers will be the favorite to win the sectional, but whether or not they actually get it done or not, that remains to be seen. And then lastly, for Class 2A, we go over to, make sure, let me get there real quick. 2A Sectional 23, hosted by Eastbrook. Eastbrook's down in Marion, Indiana. So there are 3 first-round matchups here. Matchup number 1 features Yorktown and Delta. Again, I don't know very much about these schools for soccer, so please bear with me on that. My guess would be Yorktown would be the favorite, but I have no idea right now. I will have to do some research on that. Matchup number 2, Mississinawa and Oak Hill. Oak Hill has had some history of success in soccer, but again, I don't know much about the CIC for soccer this year, so my judgment will have to be reserved on that. And then matchup number 3, Blackford takes on Eastbrook. I know Blackford is not as good as Eastbrook. Eastbrook should win this matchup, but this is a rivalry game down in that area in Hartford City and Marion, so never know with a rivalry matchup of this magnitude. Jay County, who won the ACAC this year for the second year in a row, they received the bye. They will face the winner of Yorktown and Delta. I would imagine Jay County will have a decent challenge in that semifinal matchup. Although I will say this, last year they played in the sectional championship game. In this sectional, they lost to Mississinawa in the championship match. So now that I'm starting to think about it, that Mississinawa Oak Hill matchup is a little more intriguing now that I remember how Mississinawa performed last year. So it should be an interesting sectional. I think Jay County can win this sectional for sure, but it's certainly not a shoo-in, to say the least. And then lastly, we want to get to Class 3A for our area schools. So we begin with the girls' side. We start off with 3A sectional number, let me make sure I get the right one, sectional number 5, hosted by Northside. There's only one first-round matchup. Carroll takes on Northside. I can already tell you Carroll's the favorite in that matchup. They should advance to the semifinals, which I think they'll beat Snyder, who has the bye in that draw. And so I would imagine Carroll beat Snyder to play for the sectional title. The other matchup features a powerhouse of two powerhouse matchup between Northup and Leo. Northup's won 12 matches this year. Leo's 8-6, but they're a very battle-tested 8-6 team. Leo will certainly be a test for the Northup Bruins, but I would think Northup will be slightly favored in that matchup. And so don't be surprised if we see a all-Fort Wayne matchup for the sectional championship between Northup and Carroll. I think Carroll has the edge in this matchup on paper, but I would not rule out Northup by any means. And certainly Leo will be mentioned as well as a contender. And then Sectional 6, hosted by Homestead. There's only one first-round matchup. That's Huntington North and Columbia City. Columbia City shut out Huntington North in the regular season 4-0. This matchup was also played out in last year's state tournament. I believe this one went to overtime, and I believe Huntington North won that matchup last year in overtime. But Huntington North is down this year. Columbia City returned more of their players back from the previous year. I think Huntington North has a tall task against the Eagles, unless they can slow down Annie Baxter. It's going to be a tough night for Huntington North on paper against Columbia City. And then you look at the semifinals. Wayne versus Southside is kind of a whatever matchup because I don't like either matchup to win a sectional. I would say if I have to pick one right now, I would say, it's a tough one. I would go Wayne right now over Southside. And then Homestead has the bye. They will wait either Columbia City or Huntington North. I would imagine this is Columbia City's match to win, to play Homestead, which how many times have you heard Columbia City and Homestead facing up in sectionals? I think it's starting to get exhausted. It's starting to become nauseum for these two programs. And they have not faced each other in the regular season. I am trying to remember the last time they played each other in girls soccer. It's been a long time since I last recall Homestead playing Columbia City in girls soccer. So this should be an interesting matchup between the host Spartans and the Eagles, a long-time rivalry from the NEIC and the NHC, to which Homestead is no longer a part of. Homestead is 11-2-1 in the season, so they are going to be the favorites to win the sectional. This is a very difficult matchup for Columbia City. So I think Columbia City will present the best chance of an upset, but Homestead will be the heavy favorites to win the sectional. And then you look on the boys' side. Boys' side here, you have 3A Sectional 5, hosted by, 3A Sectional 6, so I'm going backwards for the boys' side for some reason. Hosted by Northrop. The first round will feature 3 matchups, Northside against Northrop. Northrop will probably be the favorites, although Northside is not bad this year. DeKalb takes on Southside. Southside is a sneaky team in this bracket, but DeKalb's got a talented team of their own, led by Emmanuel Hernandez of the DeKalb Barons. I won't be surprised if DeKalb wins, but Southside is not a team to overlook. They did beat Northrop this year, so they are a team that can beat somebody. And then the third matchup features Carroll New Haven. I know New Haven has had a better season, but this is a very, very brutal draw for the New Haven Bulldogs, taking on Carroll. Carroll should win that matchup. And so the semifinals will feature Snyder with a bye. They'll face the Northside Northrop winner. That's intriguing because of the rivalry history with Northside and Northrop for Snyder. And then the winners of DeKalb Southside and Carroll and New Haven will face off against each other. Don't be surprised if it's DeKalb Carroll, but I won't even be surprised if it's Southside Carroll. I think Southside has a decent chance of winning that matchup with the DeKalb Barons. And then let me go ahead and find the other boys matchup real quick. Here we go. I must have missed it for some reason. So the last matchup I want to discuss here real quick. 3A Sectional 5 hosted by Huntington North. There are 3 first-round matchups. Columbia City takes on Huntington North. This was a double overtime regular season matchup in conference play. Columbia City won that matchup by a single goal, but Columbia City certainly not going to overlook Huntington North considering how tight-nosed they are on the defensive side of the ball. They have a nice goalkeeper with the last name Blair. They got the Claghorn kid who can score some goals as well. Columbia City has some nice depth on that team, led by Jonah Shipman of the Columbia City Eagles. They have the Mullet kid in goal. That's solid as well. So that will be an intriguing matchup. Don't take the records lightly. Huntington North is definitely going to be an upset alert in the sectional matchup number 2 features Homestead and Marion. I don't have to look at Marion's record to tell you. Homestead probably the favorite to win that matchup. And then East Noble Wayne, that's a nice coin toss matchup between the Knights and the Generals. I don't know exactly who's going to win this matchup. I won't be surprised if East Noble wins, but Wayne's certainly not a sleeper. Sorry, Wayne's certainly not an easy win, so to speak. I don't think it's going to be a piece of cake for East Noble. So East Noble's going to have to work their butts off on that one. And then Warsaw has the bye. They will wait the winner of Columbia City, Huntington North. That is a difficult second round matchup for either Columbia City or Huntington North. Don't be surprised if Warsaw plays for a sectional championship. And then the winners of Homestead and Marion will take on the winner of East Noble and Wayne. I think we could see a Warsaw and Homestead matchup just off the top of my head for a sectional championship. So to kind of wrap things up on the sectional draws and whatnot for boys and girls soccer, I'm going to go ahead and just go back to 1A and just give my initial thoughts on who are some ANEC teams that could advance past sectionals. I would say in terms of the girls, I like Westview still to come out of their sectional against Lakewood Park, but I think Lakewood Park will definitely be a team to keep an eye on. Don't like anybody in 1A sectional 37, which I for some reason overlooked, but it's not a section that I really want to talk about because, I mean, let's just be honest. It's just Blackhawk Christian or Eastbrook. Maybe you talked about Wabash as well, but I would say it's Wabash or Eastbrook at this point in that girls soccer sectional. We'll talk more about that sectional later on. But in terms of the boys sectional, I like Bethany 1A for their sectional. I like Blackhawk Christian in their sectional. And then 2A, I would say Dwayner should win their sectional. Oh, I like Belmont in their sectional. I could see Jay County win their sectional, but Yorktown will certainly be a tall task. Same here on the boys' side. I won't be surprised if Leo makes it to to regionals, but I think West Noble will be a tall task for the Lions. Lures probably wins their sectional, and I could see Jay County win their sectional, but I don't know anything about that sectional other than I know Jay County's got a good team. In Class 3A, I like Homestead on the girls' side, and then as well as Carroll. And then on the boys' side, I still like Homestead. And then, I won't be surprised if Northup wins it on the boys' side. But again, it will be interesting to see how these sectionals are played out. So that's going to do it for a special edition of the. That's going to do it for a special edition at Around the Northeast Corner, covering the area sectionals that we're going to be talking about this season for boys and girls soccer. My name is Sam Frick. Have a great day.